You're watching Dante's
Boxing Nation.
Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So let me start this video by surmising everything and setting it up. So leading up to this fight, in the buildup of the Shakur Stevenson-Oscar Valdez fight, Oscar Valdez, he explained why he wanted the Shakur Stevenson fight and why he even mentioned Shakur Stevenson's name after he beat Burchell. And by the way, Shakur Stevenson was actually there live in attendance watching the Burchell-Oscar Valdez fight. He was actually staring right at Oscar Valdez as he was doing his post-fight interview. But nevertheless, Oscar Valdez, this is what he says when it comes to why he decided to fight Shakur Stevenson next. Check this clip out.
We mentioned Shakur Stevenson because it was years and years of repetition of him calling my name. And it got to a point where people were believing him, were believing that me, Oscar Valdez, was afraid of this fighter. I've never been afraid of no one out there. No fighter out there I've ever been afraid of. Nobody. I've been boxing ever since I was 8 years old. I've been professional now for almost 10 years. And for someone to tell me that I'm scared of you, that's a complete lie. But what was bothering me was the fact that people were believing him. So that's the main reason why we wanted this fight so bad.
Okay, so before we get into what Canelo told Oscar Valdez to do, I want to talk about the whole being afraid thing, the having fear as a boxer. We've heard some boxers say this. We've heard some boxing fans that are defending the boxers say this. They'll say that a boxer, a fighter, he's not afraid of anything. So he's not ducking because he's not afraid of anything. But there are different types of fear. Now, when it comes to Oscar Valdez getting into a fight with Shakur Stevenson, being punched, is he afraid of that? Absolutely not. Oscar is right. He definitely has no fear when it comes to getting into a fight. The fear lies in the results of the aftermath. What happens after you lose, if you were to lose to Shakur Stevenson? What happens to your career? What happens to your reputation? They just built a statue for Oscar Valdez after he beat his last opponent, right? And that was, what, weeks or days after he tested positive for PEDs? So when your reputation, pride, and even future paydays is on the line, you're definitely going to have fear. This dangerous opponent that everyone is asking you to fight just may disrupt all of those things. Did you guys know that a lot of fighters, they sign with these big promotional companies like Top Rank and other ones, right? And they're making good money as long as they're winning. Do you know a lot of those fighters, once they lose one time, they get dropped from the network or they get dropped from the promotional company? Boxing prospect Elvis Rodriguez is a prime example. He was a boxing prospect signed by Top Rank. He ended up suffering his first loss to Kenneth Sims Jr. and Top Rank, they released him. That's taking food off of him and his family's table. Now you see how that could exude fear? Yeah, you might not be afraid to get punched in the face, but everyone worries about being homeless. Everyone worries about going broke. Everyone worries about having to go from making hundreds of thousands of dollars to having to work a 9 to 5. And then on top of that, there's more to be afraid of. Not only you losing, but then losing to a black fighter, because that's where the Mexican pride comes in. There's a lot more pressure on you when you're carrying a country on your back. And you all know that deep down, a lot of the Mexican fans, especially the ones that live in America, are extremely racist towards black people. All you have to do is read the comments on the internet, and you can see that clearly. But if anyone wants to dispute this, I've already done it in plenty of videos before, but I could go ahead and make another video where I just play nothing but comments so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because if I tell you anything on this channel, it's always going to be backed up with facts. That's why when you see my logo, it reads the whole truth. But I always want to make this clear because I'm only talking about the racist Mexicans. I have zero respect for them. I respect the ones that are not racist, the ones that are anti-racist, but unfortunately they are in the minority. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about what Canelo Alvarez told Oscar Valdez to do. So during the fight, Joe Tessitore, who's calling the fight, he reveals that Canelo Alvarez told Oscar Valdez he needs to fight Shakur Stevenson because this guy's been constantly calling him out, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you go back to the clip that I just played for you guys earlier, that's pretty much what Oscar Valdez was telling us. He was telling us that, you know, what was bothering him is people were starting to believe that he was ducking and avoiding Shakur Stevenson. When people start coming to him and saying it to him, that's when he realized he had to fight him. So that means he was talking about people like Canelo Alvarez, which is truly amazing. This surprised me when I heard this because I thought that Canelo Alvarez, he would be telling Oscar to stay away from someone like Stevenson. You would think that Canelo would be like, hey, listen, man, I done already been down that road. Those dangerous, undefeated, athletic, slick boxers, they are no joke. They are, as Canelo's trainer put it, the most difficult fighters to face. Whenever you're fighting against one of them, it's going to be a complicated fight. Guys, this is exactly what Eddie Reynoso said. Okay, so I would think that Canelo, he would have either said the same thing or he just would have not even mentioned Shakur Stevenson's name to Oscar Valdez to alleviate the pressure of fighting him. After all, this is exactly what Canelo Alvarez has done with Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo for 6 years. Understand this, guys. Do you know there was a time at 154 when Canelo Alvarez was beltless? He didn't have a belt, and the champions at 154 at the time were both Charlo brothers and Demetrius Andrade. Do you know all three of those champions called Canelo Alvarez out, and Canelo, he avoided all of them? Demetrius Andrade, or I should say Canelo, he was Andrade's mandatory. Just like Ryan Garcia was Devin Haney's mandatory, just like Jaime Munguia is Jermall Charlo's mandatory right now, and was Demetrius Andrade's mandatory at 160. So we know this long story. Canelo didn't fight him at 154. He moves to 160. Charlo becomes his mandatory. Canelo vacates the belt to avoid him. He doesn't want to become undisputed at 160. Why? Because of who the champions are at 160. Then he moves to 170. Then he moves to 168, where it is completely MBF, and that's when he decides he wants to go for undisputed. So it's amazing to me that Canelo Alvarez would instruct Oscar Valdez to do something that Canelo himself doesn't even have the heart to do. And honestly, I'm surprised that the majority of Mexican fans, as much as they talk about being tough in the ring, I'm surprised that they wouldn't turn their back on someone like Canelo Alvarez that won't even get in the ring. I mean, that's like the bully challenging you to a fight and you decide to walk away. But that bully, he tries that on some other kid, and that kid, he stands up for himself. And regardless how well he does in the fight, who do you think is going to get the most credit? The man that metaphorically jumped in the ring and fought? Or the man that never jumped in the ring? Canelo Alvarez right now, he's not fighting against any undefeated Mexican fighters or undefeated black fighters. Oscar Valdez did both of those things. So when I see some of the Mexican fans in my comment section talking about black fighters running, which are code words for them really wanting to call them mayates and all kind of other things. But when they say these type of things, Oscar Valdez, he didn't run from a challenge. Canelo Alvarez, he did, and he's still doing it today. I'll ask you fans that defend Canelo. You believe that Canelo can beat Demetrius Andrade easy, right? You believe he beats Charlo, right? So how come Canelo Alvarez doesn't have that same confidence? How come the same confidence Canelo had to beat Yildirim, Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, Amir Khan, James Kirkland. How come he doesn't have the same confidence to go in there and beat Andrade and Charlo? The truth is, even the fans that say Canelo Alvarez would beat these guys, they don't have that confidence. Because if you truly had confidence that Canelo beats Andrade and Charlo, and he beats him easy, you would be upset and frustrated that Canelo is not taking these fights. Because that's the way a person who really has confidence thinks. You want to shut people up that continue to say Canelo Alvarez is ducking these guys. And you want to really push for this fight. But you're not doing that because it's just a talking point for you. And as long as Canelo is not fighting these guys, you're happy with it. In fact, let me just go ahead and just give you one example of the type of racist comments that we get that proves my exact point. Someone says, tell Canelo to stop ducking. And you see this guy, he says, he ain't giving no gorillas a payday. And I have hundreds of comments like this from Canelo Alvarez fans. But it's important to note that this guy is telling you he doesn't want to see Canelo take on those challenges because he's seen 95% of the greatest Mexican fighters of all time suffer their first loss to a Black American boxer, and he's racist towards Black people. So just imagine the fear you have when your favorite fighter today is being called out by another undefeated, dangerous Black boxer. Now, when it comes to those racist comments from the Canelo Alvarez fans, I want you guys to notice, in at least 99% of the comments, they're making it clear that this has always been about race and nothing but race. They never make it about a particular fighter that they don't like or a particular boxing style they don't like. They make it very clear in the comment section, it's always been about a particular race that they don't like. So that means they feel the same way about Black people, regardless if you agree with all of their racist talking points or you disagree with them. They don't care how you see it. They only see your skin color. And when they see your skin color, you are an enemy on sight. That's how these racists feel about you. Just like when a police officer shoots and kills an unarmed Black person, he doesn't care if that Black guy is a coon, if he watches Fox News or voted for Donald Trump and hates Black Lives Matter. None of that matters. They're killed before the police officer knows any type of political affiliation that they have. And I can guarantee you probably half of the Black people that have gotten murdered by the police, they didn't care anything about Black Lives Matter. They probably didn't even care about racial double standards that exist in America. And yet they met the same fate that the other Black people did, being murdered by the police officers, because of the fact that they all shared the same skin complexion. So you could try your best to beg for acceptance when it comes to these racist Canelo Alvarez fans that post these comments, or any other racists out there. The fact that we never see them in the comment section or even in person congratulating, praising, or ever defending a Black American boxer, it proves you're wasting your time trying to get their acceptance. That's why I always say, if you're gonna be calling me any type of racial slurs, you're gonna be doing it while I'm telling you the truth. And you're gonna keep coming back and listening because you know it's like going to the doctor's office. Even though the doctor may tell you something that you don't want to hear, you know it's gonna be true. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Ello Dekey Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to ellodekey.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.
My name is Chris, and I'm all the way here from Anchorage, Alaska at South Carolinas, and I'm here for my second treatment of SMP. Well, I was sitting at home one day and going over my Facebook page, and they have different, like advertisements popping up, and I saw one for SMP. And I saw some pictures of some guys, a before and after, And I was looking at that, and it caught my attention. So I Googled it, SMP. Nothing showed up in my area. So, I did a little more research, and all of a sudden, Scout Carolinas popped up in the web browser. So I started watching his videos and seeing all the reaction from all the other people. We talked on the phone, we made appointments and everything. I sent him pictures, and he looked at them, and I was like, can you fix this? And he pretty much said, no problem. My first session, he made me feel extremely comfortable. It was almost like I was talking to family. He started, and during the whole treatment, we talked and about our families and our life, and and things that he does and things that I do. And before I know it, the first session was over. When you see someone doing something that they love, as much as I see Enoch Glover love what he does, it shows in his work. I wouldn't point anyone in any other direction but here to North Carolina, Scout Carolinas, to get this done.